Imagine this. You're sitting in a coffee shop in Melbourne, sipping your flat white, when suddenly your phone buzzes. It's an ad for that exact embarrassing thing you did in year 7 that you've never told anyone about. Not something you Googled. Not something you posted. Something that exists only in your memory. Sounds like science fiction? Well, may. The line between your thoughts and someone else's data is getting thinner every single day. Right now, as we speak in 2026, scientists are making breakthrough after breakthrough in something called brain-computer interfaces or BCIs. These systems create direct communication pathways between the brain and external devices, acquiring brain signals, analyzing them, and translating them into commands. And here's where it gets absolutely wild. We're not just talking about controlling a cursor with your thoughts anymore. Recent research is exploring whether brain-reading technologies are really mind-reading technologies, with themes including privacy, cognitive liberty, and self-conception appearing as areas of vital ethical concern. Let me paint you a picture of what's actually happening in labs around the world right now. Researchers have successfully decoded visual imagery directly from brain scans. They've reconstructed words people were thinking, not speaking, thinking. They've even managed to extract basic emotional states and intentions. But here's the kicker, and this is where your morning coffee might taste a little more bitter. Neuralink's advancements in brain-computer interface technology have positioned the company as a leader in this emerging field, with the first human implant already happening. We're witnessing the birth of an era where the boundary between your private mental world and external technology is dissolving. Think about what memories actually are from a scientific perspective. They're not mystical experiences locked away in some ethereal realm. They're electrical patterns, chemical reactions, neural pathways firing in specific sequences. And if they're patterns, well, patterns can be read, patterns can be decoded, patterns can be copied. The technology works through several approaches. Non-invasive methods use EEG sensors that detect electrical activity through your skull. Think of it like eavesdropping on a conversation through a thick wall. You can make out some words, get the general mood, but miss the nuances. Then there are the invasive methods, tiny electrodes placed directly on or in brain tissue. These are like having a microphone right next to the speakers. The clarity is stunning and terrifying. Electrodes or sensors can be placed either on the surface of the head, within the skull, or even within the brain itself to record brain activity. Here's what keeps neuroscientists awake at night. Memories aren't just stored in one location. They're distributed across multiple brain regions, connected by intricate networks. But AI doesn't care about complexity, it thrives on it. Machine learning algorithms are getting scary good at finding patterns in chaos, connecting dots that human researchers never could. And the companies developing this technology? They're not just thinking about medical applications anymore. The potential for commercialization is massive. Imagine advertisements tailored not just to your browsing history, but to your actual emotional memories. Imagine employers scanning for memories of past mistakes. Imagine governments accessing memories they deem relevant to national security. But hang on. Before we all start fashioning tinfoil hats, let's talk about why many scientists think these fears are overblown, at least for now. First, the technical limitations are enormous. Implantable brain-machine interfaces face significant technology challenges, and we're nowhere near having the resolution needed to extract specific, detailed memories. Current technology can detect general patterns like whether someone is thinking about a face or a house, but extracting your memory of what you had for breakfast last Tuesday? We're decades away from that level of precision. Dr. Sarah Chen, a leading neuroscientist at Melbourne University, argues that memories are far more complex than simple data files. They're reconstructed each time we recall them, influenced by our current emotional state, recent experiences, and even the act of remembering itself changes them. Unlike your computer's hard drive, your brain doesn't store perfect copies, it stores fragments that get reassembled. The medical community emphasizes that current BCI research is focused on life-changing therapeutic applications, helping paralyzed patients control robotic limbs, allowing people with locked-in syndrome to communicate, treating severe depression and PTSD. Brain-computer interfaces represent an emerging technology that facilitates direct communication between the brain and external devices, with numerous applications in the medical field. Moreover, there are significant legal and ethical safeguards being developed. The BRAIN Initiative specifically considers ethical implications of neuroscience research, including neural enhancement, data privacy, and appropriate use of brain data in law, education, and business. International committees are working on neural rights frameworks. Some countries are already passing laws protecting mental privacy. The technology also requires your active participation in most cases. You can't just secretly scan someone's memories from across the room. Current BCIs require calibration, training, and often surgical implantation. The person needs to be actively engaged with the system. And let's be honest about the current state of AI. Yes, it's impressive, but it's also incredibly brittle. It can mistake a turtle for a rifle if you change a few pixels. The idea that it could perfectly decode the infinite complexity of human memory and consciousness might be giving it too much credit. Many researchers argue that we're creating solutions in search of problems, driven more by Silicon Valley hype than actual scientific necessity. The human brain has evolved over millions of years to keep thoughts private for very good reasons. Maybe some boundaries shouldn't be crossed. So where does this leave us? Somewhere between the nightmare scenarios and the dismissive hand-waving lies a more nuanced reality. The technology is real, it's advancing rapidly, and it will eventually become more sophisticated than we can currently imagine. But it's also true that we're not there yet, and the path forward isn't predetermined. What both sides agree on is this: the conversation about neural privacy needs to happen now, while we still have time to shape how this technology develops. The choices we make in the next decade will determine whether BCIs become tools of liberation or instruments of control. Think about it this way: every technology starts with noble intentions. The internet was designed to share scientific research and ensure communication during nuclear war. Social media was supposed to connect people and democratize information. Yet here we are, dealing with surveillance capitalism, addiction algorithms, and echo chambers. The difference with neural interfaces is that the stakes are infinitely higher. We're not just talking about your data, we're talking about your thoughts, your memories, your very sense of self. But there's also unprecedented potential for good. Imagine if we could help war veterans process trauma by precisely targeting the neural circuits involved in PTSD. Picture giving back the ability to communicate to someone who's lost their voice to ALS. Consider the possibility of enhancing human memory and cognition to solve climate change, cure diseases, or explore the cosmos. The key insight both researchers and ethicists are converging on is this: consent and agency must be built into the technology from the ground up, not added as an afterthought. Privacy, cognitive liberty, and self-conception appear to be areas of vital ethical concern, and these concerns must drive the development process, not follow it. We need neural rights legislation before we need neural implants in every smartphone. We need public understanding before we have private corporations controlling access to our minds. But this brings us to some questions that I reckon you need to wrestle with, whether you're in Sydney, Perth, or Alice Springs. If reading memories could solve crimes, would you support it? What if it could prevent terrorism? What if the only way to prove your innocence was to let authorities scan your brain? If neural enhancement could make your kids smarter, faster, more creative, but also more susceptible to mental manipulation, would you say yes? Would you risk giving them a disadvantage if other parents said yes? Here's a personal one. If you could delete traumatic memories, would you? What if those memories, however painful, are part of what made you who you are? And the big one, in a world where thoughts can be read, what happens to the concept of privacy itself? Is mental privacy a fundamental human right, or just a temporary accident of biology that we're about to outgrow? What about the global divide this could create? Rich nations and individuals with access to neural enhancement, poor ones without. Are we looking at the birth of a literally different species of human? You know what strikes me most about all this? That coffee shop I mentioned at the start, that moment when your most private thoughts become someone else's data. It's not really about the technology at all. It's about us. It's about what we decide we're willing to trade for convenience, for health, for enhancement, for connection. Every neuron firing in your brain right now, every memory being formed as you process these ideas, every emotional response you're having, they're all just electrical signals. But they're also the most intimate, sacred part of what makes you, you. The real question isn't whether AI will be able to read your memories. The real question is, when it can, what kind of society will we choose to be? Because unlike the technology itself, that choice is still entirely in our hands. And unlike our memories, which might one day be readable, our choices in this moment will echo through generations in ways no algorithm can predict or control. What do you reckon? Are we heading toward a future of incredible human enhancement, or a surveillance nightmare beyond Orwell's wildest dreams? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and hey, while your thoughts are still private, make them count. If this got your neurons firing, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the future we're building, and hit that notification bell, because trust me, the pace of change in neurotechnology means there's always something new to explore. And if you want to dive deeper into any of the studies I mentioned, I've linked everything in the description below. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to understanding the technologies that might one day understand us better than we understand ourselves. Catch you in the next one, legends. Keep your minds open, but maybe keep your thoughts to yourself. For now.